Have you ever woken up to one of those days where everything just feels heavier than it should? When even getting out of bed seems like too much? Maybe you look around and wonder, what am I doing here? What's the point of all this? It might be cloudy outside, but what really weighs you down is the cloud hanging inside you. That feeling, that emptiness, that silent loss of will to move forward. It's more common than you might think, especially as we get older. But before we go any further, I want to tell you something important. If you're here watching this video, even with a heavy heart or not really knowing why, that alone is a sign of hope. It means that somehow you're still looking for something, and that's exactly why this conversation is for you. Life, with all its twists and turns, sometimes leads us down paths we never imagined walking. Maybe you've lost someone you love deeply. Maybe your health has changed. Or maybe you just look back and don't recognize the person you once were. All of that can slowly dim the light that once shined inside you. But here's the truth, and maybe today, you really need to hear this, that light is still there. Even if it's faint, it's still shining. And yes, it can brighten your life again. Maybe no one's told you this in a long time, but you matter. You are important, and no matter your age, no matter the phase of life you're in, or the setbacks you've faced, there are still paths to discover, people to meet, moments to feel. Life doesn't end with retirement, the end of a relationship, or when your children leave home. It changes, and even if that change feels scary at first, it can reveal a kind of beauty you never expected. I'm not here to give you magic formulas. There's no one-size-fits-all recipe for dealing with deep sadness, or that sense of uselessness or fear of what's next. But what I can, and truly want to, do right now is share with you a few truths that might help rekindle that little spark inside. Truths that maybe no one's ever told you before, or maybe you've heard them but couldn't quite believe. But today I want you to hear them with an open heart, because that's what we're doing here, talking heart to heart. You see, there's something that happens over time. We collect wounds, losses, silences, and little by little, we start believing our usefulness has faded, that we've done all we could, that now we're just waiting for time to pass. But that's not true. Even if the world around you no longer sees your value the way it once did, you are still an entire universe, with stories, experiences, and something no one else has, your life's journey, your perspective. And that brings us to the first truth you might need to hear. Today, you are still needed. There are still people who can learn from you, people who need your presence, your listening ear, your smile. Sometimes just one word from you can change someone's day or their life. You don't need to be surrounded by crowds or be famous or have thousands of followers. Sometimes it's in a simple conversation with a grandchild, a neighbor, or someone waiting at the bus stop that your light shines the brightest. And the most beautiful thing? When you light someone else's path, you warm yourself in the process. Now maybe you're thinking, but I feel so empty. How can I possibly help someone else when I don't even know what's going on with me? And that's exactly why the second truth is so powerful. Feeling lost is part of the journey. It doesn't mean you're failing. Life doesn't come with an instruction manual. It throws us into unexpected situations, makes us rethink everything, and sometimes even breaks us down. But that's not the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of something new. Think of that little plant that only grows after the soil has been stirred, after the rain comes, after the ground opens up, after everything feels messy. Pain can be that stirred up soil. And yes, it hurts, but it also prepares the ground for something different, something you might not see yet, but that can still bloom. And for that to happen, you need to give yourself permission. Permission to feel, permission to ask for help, permission to not have all the answers. Many of us grow up thinking we have to be strong all the time, that showing sadness or tiredness is weakness, that complaining or asking for comfort is just being dramatic. But it's not. Asking for help is an act of courage. Saying I'm not okay is a sign of strength. And if you've made it this far, you've already taken that first step. And I admire you for that. There are days when just getting out of bed is a victory, when brushing your teeth, taking a shower, or opening the window are small acts of resistance. And if today is one of those days, please know this: you're not alone. I'm here with you. And even more than that, there are thousands of others who, just like you, are trying to find their light again through the fog. And when we talk about finding that light again, we're not talking about grand events or big changes. Most of the time it starts with the little things. Making a quiet cup of coffee, playing a song that reminds you of something good, writing a letter even if you don't send it, putting your feet on the grass, looking up at the sky, saying good morning with a little more meaning. It may seem small, but it's huge, because these gestures reconnect you to the present. And when you come back to the present, you start to remember who you are. And who you are is so much more than the labels they've given you. More than retired, widow, senior, but you are a human being in constant transformation. And even if your body changes, your skin wrinkles, or your hair turns white, your essence is still there, alive, unique and irreplaceable. Maybe no one has told you this today, but you deserve love. You deserve care. You deserve respect. And more than anything, you deserve to live with joy. Yes, joy. Because it's not too late to find pleasure in the little things. It's not too late to make new friends. It's not too late to discover new talents, new tastes, new passions. Whether you're 60, 70, 80 or 90, if you're breathing, you're alive. And as long as you're alive, there's always the chance to begin again. Yes, it's true that some doors close, that some people leave, that some things won't come back. But it's also true that new doors open, that new people arrive, that new chapters are still waiting to be written. And who knows, they might be the most beautiful ones yet. Now, I want to invite you to pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and look inward. Ask yourself, what can I do for myself today that will help me remember who I am? It doesn't have to be anything big, just something that reconnects you with your own life. Because the first step to truly living again is to reconnect with yourself. Something truly powerful happens when we stop being so hard on ourselves and start allowing ourselves to simply feel. To feel sadness, to feel tired, to not have all the answers. Because for a long time, maybe you've been living on autopilot, taking care of others, solving problems, working hard, being the strong one in the family, but forgetting about yourself. And there comes a moment when that kind of forgetting starts to hurt. Life slows down, visits become less frequent, the phone rings less often, your calendar gets emptier, and suddenly there's all that silence. A silence that can feel overwhelming, but it can also be an invitation to rediscover yourself. Because inside that silence there's space to reflect, to reconnect with passions you set aside, to realize that you don't have to live the way you used to. You can live in a way that makes sense for you now. And that leads us to a truth you may have never heard clearly. You can still reinvent yourself right now, even after everything you've been through. There's no right age to start over. And starting over doesn't mean throwing away your past. On the contrary, it means taking everything you've learned, everything you've felt, everything you've survived, and turning it into something new. Something yours, something that brings peace to your heart. Maybe there's something you always wanted to learn but never had the time. Painting, sewing, playing an instrument, writing your memoirs, planting a garden, studying a new language, or simply sitting by a window and watching life go by at a slower pace. Now is the time, because reinvention doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes it happens through the smallest gestures. And each one is a way of saying to yourself, I'm still here. And you know what's beautiful? The world needs to see this version of you that is beginning to bloom again. Because when someone with your life story, your wisdom, your truth allows themselves to grow once more, it inspires others. It reminds people that life is worth living, that it's never too late, and that life isn't made of one single beginning, it's made of many. But I know it's not always easy to believe that. Sometimes the pain speaks louder. The longing hits hard. The mind keeps whispering things that hurt. You're too old. Nobody cares anymore. It's no use trying. And in those moments, there's another truth you need to remember. Not everything your mind tells you is true. That might sound strange, but it's real. When our mind is tired, hurt, or lonely, it starts telling distorted stories. It makes us believe we're all alone, that we're unloved, that we no longer matter. But those are just the voices of exhaustion, of fear, of isolation. That's not who you are. That's not your truth. When it's not cared for, the mind can become a dark place, but it can also be trained, re-educated, nourished with new thoughts, new perspectives, new images. You can start by noticing the good, no matter how small. You can choose every day to find something to be grateful for. You can write in a notebook 3 things that made you smile that day, even if it's just, my coffee tasted good, sunlight came through the window beautifully, or someone smiled at me at the store. This kind of simple daily practice starts to rewire your brain. It begins to quiet those harsh voices and make room for a new story. Because yes, you can rewrite your own story, and it doesn't have to happen all at once. Just one step at a time, one day at a time. And if you have someone to walk through that process with, a friend, a therapist, a support group, it makes the journey lighter. But even if you don't right now, please know, the very fact that you're here with me, listening to these words, is a kind of connection. I'm speaking to you, and you're allowing yourself to listen. And that matters. That counts. That is real. And there's one more thing. Maybe one of the most important truths of all. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone. Comparison is one of the greatest traps of life. We look at others and think they're happier, healthier, more fulfilled. But what we see on the outside never shows what's really happening inside. Every person carries a story you don't know. And you carry yours too. Your story is unique. Yes, it holds pain, but it also holds victories, moments of overcoming, genuine laughter, tight hugs, and all the things that shaped who you are today. No one can take that away from you. Sometimes we even compare ourselves to who we used to be, and that hurts too. I had more energy before. I was more useful. I was happier. But time changes everything, and it's okay to change. You don't have to be who you were at 20, 40, or even 60. You can be someone new now, someone calmer, lighter, more in tune with what really matters. Someone who chooses to live with presence, with authenticity, with love. And speaking of love, there's something I want to tell you. With all the strength in my heart, you deserve to be loved. And more than that, you deserve to love yourself. Not because of what you do or what you own or what you used to be, but simply because of who you are. Because you exist, because you're here. Loving yourself can feel difficult at times, but it's a path you can walk gently. It begins with letting go of harsh self-judgment, with looking at yourself in the mirror with a little more kindness, with forgiving yourself for the mistakes, the regrets, the choices that didn't work out. Because everyone messes up, everyone stumbles. Everyone wishes they had done some things differently. But that's not what defines you. What defines you is how you choose to move forward. And I truly believe that you can move forward with more lightness, with more peace, with more joy, even if it still hurts, even if you're still scared, even if you don't have all the answers yet. Because living doesn't mean having everything figured out. Living means continuing to try, to keep walking, to keep loving, including yourself. And if there comes a moment when you feel that inner darkness creeping back in, come back to these words. Come back to you. Come back to your breath. Come back to this present moment. And remember, even on the cloudiest days, the sun is still there. It's just hidden for a while, but it always returns. And so can you. There are moments in life when we feel like we're standing right in the middle of a crossing between who we used to be and who we might still become. And in that space in between, fear shows up. The ground feels shaky, the memories get heavy, and we wonder, is it still possible? Is it still worth trying again? And if there's one thing I want you to take from this with all your heart, it's this: yes, it's still possible. It always is, because time is not your enemy. Time is a gift. Every morning you open your eyes, even if it takes a while. To get out of bed is an invitation. Every breath is a reminder you're here. There is still life inside you. And even if it feels different now, slower, quieter, it can still be beautiful, meaningful, full of depth. And maybe what's been missing lately isn't joy or health or company. Maybe what's really missing is a sense of purpose. Something that makes you feel useful again, connected, alive. Because all of us at any age need to feel like we matter, that we belong, that we have a role to play. And here comes one of the most powerful truths. You could hear today, you can still find a new purpose. And more often than not, it's much closer than you think. Sometimes it's in tending to a small plant, trying out a new recipe, reaching out to someone you haven't seen in a while, listening to someone who needs to talk, writing down your memories, teaching something, volunteering, creating, sharing. Purpose doesn't need to be something big. It's whatever makes you get out of bed with your heart a little warmer. Whatever gives you a reason to put your feet on the ground, to put on something you like, to step outside and look at the world with brighter eyes. And the most beautiful thing is, your purpose can change, it can evolve, and it doesn't have to please anyone but you. So many people spend their whole lives trying to fit into someone else's mold, trying to be what others expected, trying to please, to be strong, to be useful, to stay productive. And then one day, especially later in life, it feels like life itself asks, now what? Who do you want to be for yourself? Maybe this is your moment to let go of old expectations, to put down the weight you've been carrying for years, to simply allow yourself to live in a new way, softer, freer, more honest. Because when you find a purpose that comes from your heart and not from obligation, everything begins to shift. You start to reconnect with life, and with that comes a feeling you might not have felt in a long time, hope. And this is the last truth I want to share with you today. Maybe the most important of all, hope can be reborn, even from the darkest places, even when everything feels like it's crumbled, even when you feel like you've got nothing left to give, even when your world feels too small, too quiet, too still. Hope is like a tiny seed that hides in the cold of winter. And while no one is watching, it starts getting ready to bloom again. Maybe you're in that winter right now, but spring will come. It always comes. And when it does, you begin to see beauty in the small things again. You realize it's still possible to feel, to dream, to be moved, to rise. And if you feel like that seed of hope is buried too deep inside, that's okay. It's still there. And with time, with care, with love, it will grow. All it needs is for you not to give up on it, to keep watering it a little each day with patience, with tenderness, with faith. And believe me, life can still surprise you. It still has unwritten chapters waiting to unfold. New people to meet, new experiences to live, feelings you thought were lost forever, but that can return. Not in the same way, but maybe in a better way, a wiser way, a more authentic way. The truth is, behind every hardship you've endured, there is someone who survived, someone who held on, someone who is still here listening to these words. And that in itself is a powerful sign of courage. You made it this far. That matters. That counts. That makes you extraordinary. Now, I want to invite you to do something simple, yet incredibly meaningful. If you can, close your eyes for a moment and place your hand over your heart. Take a deep breath and say to yourself, in your mind, I deserve to live with lightness. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to begin again. Say it gently, without rushing, even if it feels strange, even if your heart feels tired. These words are seeds, and they need to be planted. Repeat them as often as you need. Write them down. Leave them on your nightstand. Remind yourself every day you can still start over. And you are not alone. And if at any point you feel like you need support, if you need to talk, to be heard, to be seen, please reach out to someone. Don't keep it all inside. Speak, cry if you have to. Laugh if it comes. Express yourself. You have the right to be human, to feel, to fully exist. And if something in these words touched your heart, if you felt even a flicker of something different inside you, if even for a second you could breathe a little easier or see yourself with more kindness, then this conversation has done what it came to do. Because in the end, that's what truly matters, to rekindle that flame that still lives in you. And to remember that, even in silence, you have never been alone. Now, I'd really love to hear from you too. If you feel comfortable, share something in the comments that touched you, or simply say, "I'm here," so we know you're part of this community. Because yes, here you have a place. Here you are seen, you are respected, you are held. And if you believe this message could help someone else, please share it. Someone out there might need exactly this, these words, this truth, this spark of hope. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Here, we talk about life with honesty, with empathy, and with heart. And you are a part of that. Thank you for being here, for allowing yourself to listen, for being exactly who you are. And always remember, your life still holds value, still holds beauty, still holds possibility. Live your best life at any age, and never stop believing that everything can begin again, including you.